Hi, and in this video, I'm going to share 4 important keys to make him fall in love with you. Hi ladies, Matt Shaffer, your empowerment, connection, and relationship coach here. I'm a former attorney who's committed his life to supporting you in creating the sort of fun, fulfilling, dynamic connections and relationships with men that you're so worthy of. And I'm really excited about today's topic. We're going to be diving into 4 important things you can do and you can be right now that are going to help you become irresistible to great men and help them fall in love with you. But before we do, take a second, hit that little subscribe button, and don't forget to click that link in the comments and caption. I have created some awesome training that's gonna make a huge difference in your connections and relationships with men. But let's dive into this, y'all, because I hear it from my clients and my students all the time. I want a man to fall in love with me. I'm craving that loving intimacy with a man. And what I love to guide them back to is the nature of that word fall. And I want you to visualize, right? If you want a man to fall in love with you, I want you to think of it like he's diving into a pool or he's diving into a river or the ocean. You represent that to him because honestly, for a lot of men, emotional intimacy it's a real plunge. It really is a leap into the unknown. And so I'm going to share with you 4 principles that are going to help entice a man to want to dive in heart first. I want to start off by sharing you the important key of all of this, ladies. It's that if you want a man to fall for you, you get to give him something to fall into, right? And that's what these 4 principles are all about. Now, the first key is he needs a clear target so he knows where to jump. Think about it. You wouldn't dive into water if it was pitch dark outside, right? Otherwise, you might end up face planting on the shore. It's the same way with men and emotional intimacy. A man wants to feel that he hears and sees and understands you fully before he's really going to feel comfortable stepping into emotional intimacy with you. So how do we create that for a man? Well, we start off by setting boundaries from the very beginning with him. Positive, proactive boundaries about how you want to be treated, what you're into, what you're not into. It is not masculine for you to set boundaries with a man. It's actually very feminine and it's actually a very high value thing. So don't be afraid to let a man know, I love this, I don't love that. That's all part of your frame, okay? And your frame is an incredibly important part of what you're showing to a man. It is your outline of who you are. And I've talked about it in a lot of videos. I'll put some links to those in the description, but you want to make sure that a man has a full understanding of all the different facets of who you are as he's getting to know you, because that's really giving him that sense of shape of who you are and what your personality is. It's going to make him feel safe and confident to want to move forward with you. So it's important to check in with yourself if a man isn't moving forward with you emotionally and ask yourself, have I been showing up fully to him? Have I held my frame? Have I let him know my preferences, what I like and what I don't like? Have I been setting positive, proactive boundaries with him from the very beginning? And am I doing it now? Or am I doormatting, pretzeling, and doing all those things that women do that actually lower their value and really make a man feel like he doesn't really understand who they are? And if a man doesn't understand you, he's not going to want to fall in love with you. And principle 2 is a man needs to see and feel your depth before he's going to take that leap. I mean, if you didn't know how deep water was, you wouldn't just dive into it, would you? No, it'd be dangerous. Same thing with men taking the emotional plunge. If there's no depth that they can see and experience within you or in the relationship, they're not going to want to go further into it. So how can you show your depth to men? Well, one powerful way is the quality of your questions. Are you asking surface level daily report questions, or are you going deeper? Are you asking him questions that touch on his passions? Are you asking him questions that get him to tell stories? Are you really getting to know him better and getting to understand the nuances of him through your questions? Or are you just trying to keep a conversation going, maybe because you're feeling insecure about him and about the relationship? There's so many powerful feminine ways of being that are going to help you demonstrate to a man your depth, like being curious, being mysterious, being present, being open, being surrendered. It's amazing. And we'll put a link of those ways of being and a lot of other ones down in the description so you can go through and ask yourself, which of these is authentic to me? And then you can start embodying them in your relationship, which I guarantee you will deepen it. And the third and probably the most important way to establish depth in your relationship with a guy is through your vulnerability. So what does that mean, right? It means that you are the conductor of the emotional and communicative aspects of your relationship. You are the one setting the stage for how deep things are going to go. And through your example of your vulnerability, you're showing him what it means to be in a relationship. You're showing him what it means to connect. So if you want him to be vulnerable, if you want him to be deep with you, if you want him to dive into you heart first and be vulnerable with you, you get to demonstrate that. You get to be in ownership of your feelings and share them with him and ask him about his. Inspire and invite him to be vulnerable with you. He's looking for this. He's looking to you for guidance, like the little musician in the symphony, and you're the conductor, right? He's looking to you for guidance on what that looks like, what that feels like, and how to do it. Remember, men don't have as much emotional agency as women in general. So it's up to you to sort of like create that depth through leading by example. Third key to inspire a man to want to dive into you emotionally is to make sure he knows and understands that the water is warm. Now think about it. If you were going to dive into a stream or into a lake or anywhere, right? If the water was cold and you knew it was cold, well, how would you feel? You'd feel anxious. You'd feel that resistance, like, oh God, I don't know if I can do this. Even if you want to do it, you're going to have resistance around it. Well, you got to remember that men have resistance to emotional intimacy a lot of times just by default, right? Because of the conditioning that we've undergone throughout much of our lives. So one of the greatest ways you can sort of like help offset that is by letting them know and understand that you are a warm, inviting place for them to land emotionally. Men are craving emotional safety from you just as much as you're craving physical safety from them. So this is one of the best ways for you to do that. And one of the most important ways to show up warmly to a man and invite him to dive in is to cater to his love languages. So often with my clients and students, I find that they have unnecessary conflict because they're simply not taking into consideration the love languages of the other person. You just assume that because your love languages may be words of affirmation and acts of service, right? You assume that his are the same. And I almost guarantee you that they're not. For most men, I would say 80% of men, physical touch is a primary love language. So I want you to ask yourself, are you touching him in a warm, inviting way? That can be one of the biggest things you can do to help invite a man to lower his walls and connect with you deeper. I mean, for me personally, touch is a huge love language for me, and getting a good head massage or just a good back rub with, nails, forget about it. I'm done. I become a puddle, right? And so really like finding out a man's love languages can be absolutely essential. So if it's touch, figure out where he likes to be touched and how he likes to be touched. I'm not even speaking sexually, right? Although that's a component. But what other ways does he like to be casually, lovingly touched and caressed by you? And you can ask him, or you can just start experimenting and try touching him in different areas and sort of read his body language, see if he moves into you, if you feel him relax. That's a great way to establish warmth with a guy. Or if his love language is acts of service, you could wake him up with breakfast in bed or something else that he loves. Be creative with it, but you want to bridge that gap and ask him these questions and do some exploration with him, because that's going to help create that warmth and familiarity that really he's craving. And another powerful way to create warmth with a man is to praise him for what he's doing. The masculine is actively craving acknowledgement from the feminine for what it's creating and doing out in the world. And there's a very specific formula I want you to use to do that with him. You want to anchor your acknowledgement in a personal, positive feeling statement. It's a very simple formula. You basically go, I insert positive feeling statement the way you insert his action, right? So I love the way you look at me. I feel so safe when you hold me like that. I respect the way you pursue your vision with your work or out in the world. And I want you to understand why this is so powerful, because men often identify themselves by their actions, by their work, by their results. And so when you acknowledge that, when you let him know that what he's doing is making you feel great, it's so empowering to him. So if you want to create warmth, if you want to create passion with a guy, it's one of the best things you can do. And the fourth key to getting a man to dive in heart first is to ensure that the current is calm and smooth. Would you want to go swimming if there was a storm outside and the waves were whipping around and it was all chaotic? Absolutely not. Well, we want to look at the emotional climate of your relationship and ask yourself, is this a safe, calm environment that a man's going to want to invest more in? Bottom line, ladies, if you want a man to fall for you, your dominant emotional set point can't be unstable or turbulent. So what is your dominant emotional set point? Well, really, it's your default emotions. It's the emotions that you operate from most of the time. One of the biggest ways to identify your dominant emotional set point is to check in with yourself when you wake up, before you've had a lot of events of the world come crashing in on you, and ask yourself, how do I feel? What's my resting emotional state? That's an important way to recognize it. Also, look at the feelings that you default to when the unexpected happens. Like, do you automatically shift into anger or frustration or fear or overwhelm or anxiety? Do you shut down? If those are the emotions that you're constantly going back to, especially when it comes to the unknowns and unexpected in your relationship, it's not going to be very encouraging to a man. It's not going to be enticing to him and make him want to dive in and take the plunge with you. And one of the biggest factors in your dominant emotional set point that I want you to look at is how you talk to yourself. Your inner dialogue is so profoundly important. And I know for a lot of us, myself included sometimes, we can be our own biggest critics, right? We can be bullies to ourselves in the way that we talk to ourselves, in the way that we judge ourselves. And if you think that you're hiding that from the world, you're wrong. Your inner dialogue is painted on your face. Your inner dialogue is showing up in your body. It's showing up in the way that you connect with people out in the world, including and most importantly with the person you're in a relationship with or the people that you're looking to get to know, right? So it brings to mind a phrase that I've heard often in my life and that I share with my clients and students: treat yourself like someone you love. Remember, look at how you love others, the selfless, unconditional way that you love your children or your family, your mother and father, and ask yourself, am I treating myself with that same level of patience, with that same level of grace, with that same sort of just unconditional lovingness? And if I'm not, it's time to shift that conversation, because this is a very, 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 very important point. Another person cannot love you any more than you love yourself. So think about that and recognize that and do that inner care, self-love work if you haven't done it already, and be conscious of your inner dialogue. Now, I'm not telling you you can't be upset with a guy or you can't share your feelings with a man unless they're positive, okay? I want to make that really clear. Far from it. It's actually a really high value sign that a woman is in full unapologetic ownership of her feelings and of her emotions. So it's okay to get angry sometimes, but I want you to ask yourself, what are you going back to time and time again? Is your dominant emotional set point bringing and inviting people into your life? Or is it pushing him away? Is it keeping him at arm's length, right? Are you using your feelings to sort of like keep people out because it makes you feel safe? It's just something to look at and something to think about. Just strive for an emotional set point within yourself of calmness and serenity. Not only will that be more inviting to a man and make him want to take the plunge with you emotionally, but it'll just make your life more enjoyable too. So remember, ladies, if you want a man to fall in love with you, you need to give him something to fall into. And there are 4 important ways to do that. The first is, if you want a man to take the leap, you need to let him know where. You need to give him the target, right? By letting him know what your boundaries are, by sharing your preferences, your likes and dislikes, expressing your frame to him of who you are and owning it unapologetically. That's going to help him trust you and make him want deeper emotional intimacy with you. And secondly, he needs to see and feel your depth before he's going to leap. So are you asking deep questions? Are you embodying deep, powerful ways of being that are going to entice him and invite him to want to go deeper with you? And are you being vulnerable? Are you creating emotional depth through the way that you're showing up? And how will you show your depth to a guy that you want to love you? By the quality of your questions, by asking him questions that go beneath the surface and get him to tell stories and feel feelings and connect not just with you deeper, but with himself. through your ways of being mysterious, curious, present, surrendered, letting him know that you are very different from him in an incredibly enticing and inviting way. And through your vulnerability. Remember, you are the conductor. And one of the most powerful ways that you can create depth of relationship is by leading with your heart, by leading with your feelings, by letting him know what it means to be vulnerable, because he's looking to you for guidance around that. And the third way to get a man to take the plunge is to let them know that the water is warm. So are you demonstrating warmth in the way that you communicate and connect with him? Are you catering to his love languages? Are you praising him for what he's doing? Are you letting him know by the way that you're showing up to him, hey, this is a safe space and I want to hear and experience more from you? And the fourth key to get a man to fall in love with you and take the plunge is to make sure that the current is calm and soothing. So look at your dominant emotional set point and ask yourself, more often than not, how do I feel? How do I feel about myself? How do I feel about my relationship? How do I feel about the world? And how is that impacting how I show up? Because if you are not talking to yourself, if you're not seeing yourself as a priceless treasure, if you don't love yourself most of the time, or at least a dominant amount of the time, then you cannot expect another man to love and cherish and honor and support you the way that you're craving. So look at the way you're talking to yourself, and above all else, treat yourself like someone you love. So I hope you get out there and use these tips to really inspire the man in your life to fall in love with you. But before you do, take a second, hit that little subscribe button, and don't forget to click that link in the comments and caption. I've created some awesome content. I know it's gonna make a huge difference for you in your relationships and connections with men. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye-bye.